right, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Good. Virgil, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. Yeah. So spring break is over with, so good morning. So we have new faces here today. Always nice to see new people and see the familiar ones that keep us going. Spring break is over with, so we have the Montrose County School District here to talk about career pathways. We also have William Woody back in the back who is filming it, this will be shown on the City of Montrose Facebook page, I think after 4 o'clock tonight. Well, we missed you last week, so it's nice to have you back. And thank you for coming every Wednesday to do that for us. On behalf of myself, which is Phoebe Binsger, that's my name, and Kathy Hebers, Judy Ann Files, where's Judy Ann somewhere, and Barbara Bynum. We are the four that put this all together. Some of these presentations take a lot of work and thought, and as Kathy told us once, driving up to people's houses and waking them up and knocking on the door and asking them to come. And sometimes the really cool, there's Judy Ann Files, the really cool presentations, they come and say, you know, as Matt Jenkins said about a month or so ago, when we were juggling presentations and who was going to do what when, and we needed somebody for this particular day. And Matt said, you know what, there's a lot of really, really cool things that we're doing at the school district. Could we please come and present? And that's like, yeah, absolutely. And having been a former school board member, there's always a lot of really cool things going on at the school district. So when we put Matt on the spot, and Matt's not here, he's going to be coming later, so he'll be here for the question part, and I will introduce him then. Although he has presented here, he's a very familiar face. We said, exactly what are you going to present? Tell us what. So it took a while for them to decide, and then they told us it was going to be career pathways, and I was really thrilled because when I was on the school board, it was just starting. That conversation was just starting, and I remember thinking that it was go as middle school, and I think, wow, at middle school you're going to be talking careers to middle schoolers. To me, that was a stretch, but it's a game changer. It's a positive game changer, and I think, as you'll see after this presentation today, that this is going to be a really cool deal for a lot of kids. And the one thing that's a constant with our school board, administration, and district is that they want to set every child up for success. They want to make sure when they graduate and they leave our school system, they're ready for whatever they can do, and they have those options, and they know what their abilities are, where their intelligence, where their interest, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. And you're going to see today that they've mapped out different programs. They work with the city, and they work with other school districts and with Colorado Mesa University. And I'm probably not going to do your presentation because I can't. So without any further ado in talking about this program, I do want to say we have one school board member here, and that's Alice Murphy. She's right there, so she's the one that send all your anonymous calls and emails to her. Yeah. Believe me, I had my own little file for a while, but I was so happy to get rid of that, Alice, when it was over. But Alice is a regular here, but it's to be noted that she also is an elected position, and she serves on the school board, and we appreciate Dr. Beal is here as well, or Dr. Jessica Lane, is here as well. And are there any other school district employees? I know I see some back there. They're like, yeah. So be proud of that. That's a hard job. That's a great job, and we thank you guys for taking an hour off to come here and listen to this as well. All right, I'm going to the first. Let me just, before I get too carried away, like I said, there's a lot of really cool things going on with the school district, and today's topic is about career pathways. And you may know other really cool things that you want to ask about today, and I'm going to ask that you not. That at the end of the program, if you have any questions or comments, positive comments about career pathways, I will bring the microphone to you, and you can ask that question as it pertains to today's topic. Like I said, there's a lot of really neat things, and If you ask one, I will be right there by your side like, oh, you need to wait and ask that at our next presentation. That will be sometime in the future, I'm sure. So keep your questions and comments as it pertains to today's topic. And I will first introduce Dr. Carrie Stephenson, and she is currently the superintendent for the Montrose County School District. Should also be known, to me that's always confusing, it says Montrose County, and you forget that that includes the West End part and Olathe. So it's a very big school district, even though those Olathe is not included in that name. They're very important to all decisions and included in everything that they do. Dr. Stephenson began her career as an elementary school teacher in Shawnee, Mission, Kansas. And let me digress, she is a local girl. She graduated from Montrose High School. She continued her elementary teaching career in Littleton Public Schools and Douglas County School District. After receiving her master's degree in educational administration, she transitioned into leadership and served as an assistant principal and principal in Douglas County at both the elementary and middle school levels. She later completed her doctoral degree, earning a PhD in education from the University of Denver. As an elementary director and an executive director, Carrie supported 18 schools and students in preschool through 12th grade. We hired her in 2020, I believe, and she took over from Stephen Shield, and she came back home. It seems to be a really good fit, and I hear great things about her. I'm excited to have her start today's presentation, and then she's going to turn over the mic to my friend, John Steele, who, when I knew him as the coordinator for the STEM and Gifted program, he has been with the Montrose School District for 10 years, 4 as a teacher and 6 in administration, and now he's taken over as this coordinator for this career pathway program. But it should be noted that one of John's toughest job was being the school spelling bee administrator, facilitator, and those words were really hard. And so, that was challenging because I would be a judge and those kids had it, and John was, they were hard. You did well, and I tried to do well. It was fun, and so from a spelling bee coordinator, facilitator to a teacher. And also, she told me today that Matt Jenkins, who is coming later, actually, they have been best friends forever. And so Matt kind of recruited John to come. So that's a win-win for both of us. So, like I said, we will have questions at the end. I'll bring the microphone to you. We need the microphone so everybody can hear your questions and they can be on the Facebook page. Keep them to today's topic. And let's give a round of applause for Dr. Stephenson, who will start this presentation.
Thank you very much, Phoebe. It is a delight to be here this morning. This is just the beginning, so there's a couple of things that I want to emphasize this morning, and one of them is what you're going to see here this morning is just the beginning of really an initiative that will help us guide kids towards whatever their passion is for their future and their post-secondary career. So this is the result. What you're seeing today is a result of a lot of work, and I think we probably started this about a year ago now. And it was a little over 2 years ago that I stood up in front of the group at the forum and answered some questions at the end as well. And there were a lot of concerns at that time and a lot of questions about kids not knowing what's available to them. We had comments about, college is so expensive. The opportunities are not necessarily on the western slope for all kids. And so that really started me and the team around, from community members, from the Workforce Center, from MEDC, from our involvement in a lot of different collaborations. We just started talking about how can we package, if you will, the opportunities that our kids have available and make sure that we have programming in place that will help students that want to go to a 4-year college, maybe want to go to a 2-year program, want to stay local or go far away, want to join the military, want to have workforce skills ready after they graduate from high school, and how can we even give those kids a leg up on starting their workforce career? How can we package this all together so that our kids understand what they might be interested in, and within that topic, what are the vast opportunities that are available to them, regardless of the level of education that they pursue after high school. And so that's really what started this ball rolling, and I think that what you have in front of you describes what we are going for in more detail as well. But I will turn the mic over to John. He has just put in hour after hour after hour on putting this together, and we're really excited about it. We're really excited about our collaboration with CMU Montrose and Steve Matheny, because all of this just points to great opportunities for our kids. So I hope you enjoy what you're about to hear.
Welcome everyone, I'm John Steele. I'm the post-secondary coordinator for Montrose County School District. And as Dr. Stephenson mentioned, this is a project we've been working on for about 1.5 years probably, and I'll tell you a little bit about how the genesis of it came to be and how I got involved at a certain point during the presentation. When I was in high school though, I had a career advisor, and he said to me, look, I advise you to get a career. And so I thought about it a little bit, and I thought about being an historian, but I realized there was no future in that. I thought about going into telemarketing, but that really wasn't my calling. I didn't like my job as a waiter, but at least it put food on the table. Then I focused on being a photographer, but nothing really developed there. Then I thought I'll pursue my dream of being a famous, rich, and rich writer. So I asked a literary agent, what kind of writing pays the best? And they said to me, ransom notes. So I ended up becoming a rich and famous teacher instead. And that's what brought me to you in this position today. Actually, kind of the real story is, as Phoebe kind of mentioned, Matt Jenkins, my friend, recruited me to Montrose. My path to education was sort of backwards. It was kind of an accident that I became a teacher. I always wanted to be a writer. So I pursued a master's degree in writing, and one of my former undergraduate professors knew that I had just got that master's degree, said, do you want to teach some college classes at Western? I said, sure, how hard could it be, teaching a college class? Easy, I'll try it. So I learned by doing, and I'm sorry for the students who took my first couple of classes, because it was terrible, I'm sure. But I just learned by doing, did that for about 5 years, realized if I was going to do that in the long term, I should probably get a PhD. So I was working on a PhD in English at the time, and my wife and I had our son at that time, and I thought I should probably get a real job. And at that time, Matt Jenkins was a teacher at Montrose High School and said, hey, there's an opening, you should apply. So I did, and luckily got the job, came out here to Montrose, was a teacher at Montrose for 4 years in English, and then I took on this job as a coordinator working for Dr. Beller and now Dr. Stephenson, and I quite like this job, so I'm happy to be here today. The Career Pathways Project is a really cool thing that I'm enjoying immensely working on and collaborating with a lot of different folks. So I'm going to tell you about what that program entails today. The main idea for the Career Pathways Project is that we are trying to honor students' goals, their passions, their aptitudes, what they really want for themselves and life after high school. And so we're trying to take all of that into account to make sure that we're providing the educational opportunities for students to pursue whatever that career path for them is. That's the idea in a nutshell. But the Career Pathways program does a lot more than that. We do a lot more than just advise kids to get a career. We try to show them all the opportunities that they have available to them in our region to be able to pursue that career pathway. So this program is coordinating people, resources, programming options to honor not only the kind of student who's going to, after high school, go to a college, maybe somewhere far away, and pursue higher education, to those students who want to enlist in the military, to those students who want to go to a technical or trade school, to those students who are going to get a certification in some industry, or those students who are going to enter the workforce immediately. So we are trying to provide pathways and options for students no matter what pathway they're choosing after high school. And especially our focus has been a lot on how do we grow our own local talent. We know that a lot of our students, probably up to at least a third of them, are going to stay, live, and work in the Montrose and Olathe communities. And so those students need the same high quality opportunities and access to resources as any of our students do. So the idea too is to help students really envision themselves in that potential future for themselves. So we want to help students envision themselves as future doctors, lawyers, pilots, mechanics, whatever the case may be, what they want to do. We want to help them envision themselves as that thing and give them a roadmap to chart how they can get there. We want to provide a framework of vertical alignments, so starting in middle school, where a lot of career exploration really starts, and having some electives in middle school that could launch students into the high school career pathway programs, and then also vertically aligned with our colleges, our local college partners. So the CMU Montrose programs that we offer here are an excellent way for us to do that, and students can stay here in the Montrose community to pursue their higher education. We want to engage students with relevant coursework that's really hands-on, because we know the best way to engage students is to get them doing something hands-on. That's what keeps them coming back to school and engaged and interested and becoming lifelong curious learners. So all of this is designed to hopefully launch students into future careers and successful lives. Interesting to note that in Colorado, this was a study done in Georgetown University in 2018, 67% of jobs in Colorado are going to require some kind of post-secondary education. That's quite high. That's 5th highest in the nation. So we know that students, once they graduate our high schools, still need a little bit more education in some sort, whether that's technical school, a certification, four-year college, training through a military academy, whatever the case may be, there's going to be a need for most graduating students to need a little bit more education after high school. And so career pathways, because pathway is a term that is often used in many different contexts, what we mean by it here are the collection of resources and opportunities that provide students relevant, real-world, hands-on training to pursue whatever it is their career goal might be. So we kind of we did a lot of research on how to do this. We looked at what other districts that have successfully implemented similar kinds of plans have done. We worked with the local workforce center. We worked with MEDC, and there's another cool story I'll tell in a minute about working with some local agencies to really figure out how we should organize the career pathways. What should they be? We also looked at our data, our local economic data, to see where are the greatest needs in our Region 10 area. What professions do we most need to grow our local talent for? And we kind of looked also at the national framework. In the National Career Cluster Framework, there are 17 career clusters. So we looked at all of that, and we kind of came up with our own organizational system that's a little bit customized for our area. So basically, we've broken down all the career pathways into 6 broad categories, which you see right here. And they are business marketing and public administration is the first one. The second is health science, criminal justice, and safety. The third is arts, media, and information technology. Fourth is education and human services. Fifth is outdoor industry, agriculture, and tourism. And the last one is skilled trades and engineering. Within those 6 broad categories, we have 16 actual career pathways or programs of study that include a progression of courses, so at least more than 2 years worth of courses, industry certification options, concurrent enrollment opportunities to earn college credit while still in high school, and a range of other elements that make up the whole pathway. So some of those pathways, I won't read them all to you, but you have a career guide around the room that you can look at and actually see each of the 16 career pathways in more detail. But for example, in the health science, criminal justice, and safety pathway, students may pursue either the health science program of study or the law, public safety, corrections, and security pathway. Or if they're in the education and human services category, they can pursue education and training or human services. Skilled trades includes things like architecture and construction, engineering and manufacturing, transportation and automotive technology. So there's a wide range of options for students no matter what their interests and aptitudes might be. So for each of those 16 career pathways, we've developed a one-pager that is kind of the roadmap for students to be able to look at this if they're in the early exploration stages, trying to figure out what is it that I want to do. They can look at this and kind of see what options are available. If they already know what they want to do, this really is the roadmap for what courses they should take, what opportunities they should take advantage of. So we've built these one-pagers for each of the 16, and they include common elements. So at the very top, there's a very brief description that kind of says, this is a career field for this kind of person. If you're interested in law, public safety, corrections, and security, it's these kinds of jobs, and it's going to be a kind of person who can maintain a level, calm head during crises. and you care about the safety of others. You want to take care of people. Then over here on the left-hand rail, we have a list of example occupations that are broken down by educational level. So at the top level, it's any job or occupation that requires less than a bachelor's degree. It might be a 2-year technical program or just an industry certification, an associate's degree, for example. Those jobs are listed there, so kids can kind of see, well, I don't really want to do a 4-year college. These might be the kinds of jobs I could do without that 4-year college. Then below that is the bachelor's degree or higher. Those are any of the jobs where you're going to need at least 4-year degree or higher. And you can kind of see, based on how much education you want to pursue, what might be possible for you. Down here in the bottom left, we include Bureau of Labor Statistics occupational outlooks. So that includes by level, education level, the expected annual or median salary. And for this particular career pathway, that's $46,000 for the less than a BA sort of jobs. And then for the BA or higher, it's $82,000. That includes things like lawyers and judges. The salary, of course, is going to go much higher. Then on this half of the page, we've listed out a grid, 9th through 12th grade, what courses ought you take. All the courses here in white are basically your graduation requirement classes anyway, your math, your English, your social studies. Down here at the bottom, though, in the highlighted blue part, are all the pathway electives that match this career pathway. These are the courses we highly recommend students take if they are pursuing this career pathway. So that includes things like psychology, street law, and as a senior, they could take the Intro to Criminal Justice course here at CMU Montrose that's brand new. So it kind of gives our students a roadmap to what courses are available to them on their pursuit of this pathway. Right here in the middle, we've listed what industry credentials we offer. And if you're on more like the safety and public safety side of things, we have the certifications for emergency medical responder or technician that are offered. We have Microsoft Office specialist credentials if you're going more toward the law side of it. So we have some industry credentials that help students be able to prove right away that they have the skills necessary to be employed immediately and probably employed at a higher salary than somebody who doesn't have that industry credential. Next section we have here is related extracurricular opportunities. So what else should students be doing besides taking courses that they can take advantage of? Get on student council, for example, participate in any of the clubs that relate to this, like Cyber Patriot or Model United Nations, and learn a little bit more about leadership. The last two little sections here, we include local post-secondary options. So the colleges that are on the western slope, what programs do they offer in degree programs that are matching this career pathway? So they could go to CMU Montrose and pursue an associate's degree in criminal justice, and they can get that associate's degree without ever leaving Montrose. The last section right here is local employment opportunities. We've listed out local employers who might either take an intern while they're working on, while they're still in high school, doing a work-based learning program, or who might eventually employ them. Just the employers who are related to this pathway specifically. The interesting story about this particular law, public safety, corrections, and security pathway, this is where it all started really, for me at least. We were working on solving a problem, and the problem was there's a new police academy here in Montrose, affiliated with CMU. And so we were talking with the police department, Commander Smith and Commander Cox, and Steve Matheny. We kind of got invited into the conversation they'd been having already. The problem they were trying to solve is, well, you can't join the police academy until you're 21 years old. So how do we keep those students who graduated high school, probably are 18, how do we keep them here until we can get them to join the police academy at 21? What do we do with those years in between? And so we really started thinking collaboratively between CMU and the police department and the school district about how we can create a pathway. So we kind of started with Commander Smith and Commander Cox thinking, what are the skills and knowledge students would need to be, what do you want them to know and be able to do when they come to the police academy? Let's think about what high school classes and opportunities we have that could support that. Then when the student graduates high school, what could they do in those intervening years between 18 and 21? And Steve Matheny basically was able to stand up a criminal justice associate's degree that would take about 2 years to complete. So that would be the bridge to get them from high school to the police academy. And so working backwards with our local employer, our local post-secondary institution, and the school district, we kind of came up with a plan. And this was the first one we created, first one of these one-pagers. At about that same time, Dr. Stephenson kind of reached out to me and said, hey, let's look into career pathways. And she gave me some good resources to research. And so from there, this big snowball just kept getting bigger and bigger. And now we're at this point where we're really rolling this stuff out with our students, and those career guides are a huge first step in that. and putting those career guides in the hands of our students so they can have all this information. The whole idea, though, is a lot bigger than just that career guide or having these programs. This is a really ugly graphic, so I apologize for that, but basically what it's meant to show is that these boxes here in gray, starting with middle school to high school to the career pathway, these are the collection of courses and opportunities we can offer students beginning in middle school that align with these different pathways, all the way up to how we prepare kids for career and college readiness based on what they want to do. So if they want to go to the military, if they're ready to enter the workforce immediately, they want to get an industry certification, technical trade school, or a four-year college and higher. All the different elements that we provide students are kind of outlined in this graphic, and then it's surrounded by this yellow box, which is basically the whole individual career academic planning process. We call that the ICAP. And that is something that is required of all school districts in Colorado to do by Colorado Department of Ed, but they let school districts determine how they do that career planning process. And so what we are suggesting and really starting to do, we've always done ICAP for the last 15 years or so, but it's always usually been the responsibility of the school counselors and the guidance offices. What we want to do now is kind of expand that so it's a school-wide culture where every adult in the school plays some part in helping kids be prepared for career and college readiness, even if that just means you're having a conversation with a student during a passing period in the hallway about what careers they might want to pursue. So we're trying to get some training for our teachers so they can have constructive, meaningful career conversations with students whenever they may arise. And so all teachers are aware of this Career Pathways program and how to guide students to the correct resources to find the information they need and really help kids, guide kids on their pathway. And all of that is intended then to get kids into the right post-secondary education and training opportunities, and ultimately at the very top there in green, so the graduates obtain a meaningful career. One of the tools we're using, we just started with it this year, is a software platform called Major Clarity. And I won't go into great detail because there's a lot this thing does, but one of the coolest features about it is we're using this with 6th through 12th graders. So starting in 6th grade, kids can use this platform to explore careers. And it's a really robust program because students can go in and choose any of our 16 custom career pathways and see all that information, but they can also just explore. So the first things that the students do in this platform is take a personality assessment and a learning styles assessment. Based on those two really quick surveys of students answering some questions, the assessment results suggest to students best fit career options. So it'll give them, like, let's say, video production might be a 95% best fit match for you as a career pathway based on how you answer the questions on those two assessments. So it's a little bit like Netflix. The more the students interact with and rate their experiences using the career exploration tools in this platform, the better the recommendations for best fit career paths kind of change and evolve. So not only those two assessments help determine that, but then students can go in to any of the career paths, and there's 66 different paths that students can pick from in here, like veterinary science. So they might go into the veterinary science career pathway and do a test drive. And what that means is they watch a series of short interviews with an actual veterinarian, and once they watch those videos, and they're all real short, about 1 minute or 2 minutes long, and that veterinarian is talking about what they do in their day-to-day job. The student rates their experience watching those videos and what was said in those videos. They either really liked it or they really didn't care for it. Then they do a test drive on a simulated task that's related to veterinary science. So they'll go through this little simulation of a task that a normal veterinarian would do on a day-to-day basis, and then they rate their experience doing that simulated task. I really liked it or I really didn't. Based on how they rate those interactions with the career exploration tools, the recommendations for what their best fit careers keeps changing and updating. So like if they went into that veterinary science one and really didn't like it, that one's gonna fall pretty low in their best fit, and something else will rise to the top. So it keeps changing, just like when you rate movies on Netflix, it gives you better recommendations based on what you like. So this is a tool we're really using a lot this year and plan to expand next year. All of our teaching staff can use this as well to gain insights into what their students are interested in. It could really help students in particular classes differentiate their instruction appropriately. Like let's say a math teacher ends up with a roster of kids in one section of class, and they're looking through their Major Clarity data and go, wow, 20 of my 30 kids are really wanting to pursue engineering as a career pathway. I might really tailor my instruction more toward engineering, mathematics for engineering. Or I know that this particular kid really wants to be, a pilot, so maybe I'll have some conversations with them about that. I happen to know something about that, for example. So it really gives teachers some interesting insights into what their students are actually wanting to pursue for careers. So we're really excited about expanding access to Major Clarity to all teaching staff next year. So far this year, it's just our counselors and career tech ed teachers using it. We've got some data that's coming out of this. Another cool feature for Major Clarity is that we can pull data out of it. And we can see which career paths students have chosen, what specific careers within those pathways they're picking, and that can really help us make some informed decisions about the programming options we are offering in the school district so that we can change and adapt and grow to meet those student needs and interests. It'll help us answer questions like, are we offering the right classes, pathway elective classes? Should we change? Are we offering too much of something that no one's really interested in? Maybe we should change that to something that students are more interested in. This is just the preliminary results from this year on Montrose High 9th and 10th graders about where their interests and career pathways lie. And just some of the interesting things that I was thinking about looking at this, health science pathway right here, that's the one that's most popular right now. Students are picking that one way more than the others. In second place is engineering and manufacturing. And then right behind that is architecture and construction. So it's interesting to see where student interests actually are based on career pathways. One of the smaller ones, I guess, just to give some contrast, information technology right here is not a popular one, which is interesting to me that that's the case because that's one of the higher paying career pathways. So we might need to think about, one of the things this data might also help us think about, how might we help to cultivate more interest in pathways that would be very beneficial for students, even though the student may not know that that is a good option for them. And Steve Matheny and I have had some conversations about how do we cultivate that interest for information technology, because CMU Montrose has a 2-year program for that. But we have few kids taking advantage of it, and we want to fix that. This one breaks that data down even further, and this is now by a very specific career or occupation. So you can kind of see like veterinary sciences is a pretty popular one. 5.8% of those 9th and 10th graders at Montrose High are interested in being veterinary scientists, or going into the veterinary science area. Construction management, 11.3%. And this is good news for us because we are just expanding Montrose High's construction program into a full 4-year course progression that we're really excited about, and I'll talk about that in a second. So this really gives us interesting insight into where kids' interests are and how we can rise to meet those needs and change and evolve as we go. Right now we have already, for many years we've been doing Career Tech Ed and Project Lead the Way. Those are all programs that include 4 years worth of elective courses for students to take. So there's a progression of courses that build upon each other. We've had agriculture, food, and natural resources at Olathe High and Montrose High. We've had business, marketing, and public administration at both Olathe and Montrose High for quite a few years. Architecture and construction has been at both of those 2 high schools for many years. At Montrose High, we have the transportation vehicle maintenance program, hospitality and tourism, which is really focused on catering. We have an arts, AV technology, communications, multimedia program at MHS, and then science, technology, engineering, and math. We have an engineering program from Project Lead the Way, and a health science, PLTW biomedical sciences program. Those have been going strong for a number of years already. We're adding to that list, and we want to expand and continue to grow those programs with 4 years worth of courses in them. Interesting for next year, some big changes. The hospitality and tourism, the catering program at Montrose High School, is switching over next year to be an education teacher preparation program. The idea there is we really want to grow our own local talent pipeline for teachers. As you know, hiring and recruiting and retaining teachers is a challenge nationwide right now, especially for us. So we want to start growing our own local teachers and having them go through this 4-year program in high school, hopefully take some education courses and complete a BA at CMU Montrose, and then do their student teaching here in our school district, and then be immediately hireable in our schools. So we're bringing in this national program called Teacher Cadet, and it's a really cool program that students they take some freshman and sophomore courses to prepare them for this, but the Teacher Cadet program would start as a junior. It's a year-long course. There's a component of doing 50 hours of field work in that junior level course, where we would place students somewhere in one of our classrooms, and they'd work as like a teacher's aide or a para, kind of having a mentor teacher to guide them. Once they complete that Teacher Cadet Year 1 program, as a senior they can come back and take Teacher Cadet 2 and continue that education, and we would provide students the opportunity to hopefully, if all things work out, an opportunity where we might hire them part-time in some sort of support role, like a para in a classroom, or maybe a coach, some sort of support role that a high school student could do. They would be able to be paid for that, like an apprentice, and be able to start investing in PERA, the retirement PERA, P-E-R-A, earlier, and then maybe even continue that in part-time employment while they work on their education BA at CMU, and then do their student teaching for us, and then be hired by us as a full-time teacher. The idea being, we start working with them while they're juniors and seniors, training them to be the kinds of teachers we want them to be, maintain contact and building relationships with them in our schools, and they become, sort of part of our team early on while they're still learning to be a teacher. And ultimately we hope that will help kind of fulfill not only our school district needs for more teachers, but also providing students with a career that's viable and meaningful. One other big change at Montrose High School next year is going to be the expansion of our construction trades program. We've always offered woodworking technology, and basically that's learning some carpentry skills and building some cabinets probably. That was kind of the extent of that construction program. We are expanding that now into a 4-year program. And this is just a picture of our Building Futures Construction Trade Fair. We've done 2 of them now. The second one was just a couple weeks ago. And we basically wanted to design a program for construction that was more of a generalist approach. Rather than training students to be either a carpenter or an electrician or HVAC or plumber, we wanted it to be more of a generalist, a jack-of-all-trades approach. So they learned a little bit of all of those things. So basically we've designed a year 1 progression of courses that includes principles of construction and woodworking technology, so they'll learn the basics. In that principles of construction class, they'll get their OSHA 10 safety certification. That's an industry credential, proves they know the safety protocols, as well as little micro credentials along the way, one for HVAC, one for plumbing, one for carpentry, and so on. So they learn all the basic skills in that first year. Second year, they take construction technology, year-long course. Probably gonna have students building a shed in that class. The junior level class is construction systems, and in that year-long course, students are gonna build a tiny home. We've been working with Damon Deschamps, who's the owner of Trailer Made in Olathe, and their specialty is tiny homes. And so we've been, through a grant we've received, we're able to purchase the startup tiny home kits that students will work on in that junior level class. And through the course of the year, they'll build that tiny home and be able to sell it at the end of the year. The sale of that tiny home will then be able to buy next year's tiny home kit, and we'll keep it sustainable in that way so that every year there's a tiny home kit for students to build in that class. The senior level course for construction is going to be construction management. So students who've gone through those first 3 years can take construction management, and they become project managers for the juniors building the tiny home. So they'll get some leadership skills and be able to boss around the juniors, and that'll be pretty fun for them. And the last component of that in their senior year, we are just starting to figure out how to set up a registered apprenticeship program. This is something that the Colorado Department of Labor provides funding for, and it's a really cool thing. So when you become a registered apprentice, the Department of Labor gives the employer who's taking on the apprentice $7,500 to pay for any expenses related to bringing on an apprentice. And they also give the student $3,200 to pay for any cost associated with participating in an apprenticeship. That might mean buying some work clothes or some steel-toed boots and paying for gas money to get to a job site. And so we're setting that up right now as we speak, kind of learning what we need to do to set that up. So that students in this construction program can become an apprentice their senior year, get paid by an employer to go to a job site and work on a real house, perhaps. So one of the other parts about kind of spreading this word and making it easy for students to know how to access all this information, we have been designing posters that will be hanging in the secondary schools' hallways for each of the 16 career pathways. So here's an example of the poster for construction and architecture, and it kind of gives them some broad overview of it. But at the bottom, there's a little QR code. So as kids are walking through the hallway and this poster catches their eye, they can whip out their phone, scan that QR code, and it will take them right to that corresponding one-pager with all the information about that program so that they can easily get access to this. It's also in the career guides that will be readily available in their schools, but this is another quick way. If a kid just happens to think, wow, that might be interesting, let me look at it, then they can get access to it pretty quickly. So these will be like 24 by 36 posters in glass cases that are framed on walls in the hallways of our 6th through 12th grade schools. The career guide that you guys have kind of been flipping through and looking at probably just got printed about 2 weeks ago, and we're about to distribute them to schools. So you're seeing it really before a lot of the kids and families have seen it, but they're about to start seeing it. And this is an awesome collaboration between Dr. Stevenson, myself, Kathy Gaber, who you probably know. She's presented at Forum before with me. And one of our retired high school counselors, Kathleen Perrine. We all kind of worked on this, the design of it, the content of it, and really this is a hard copy for students and families to look through that kind of outlines all the things I've been describing to you. How they access all this. The one-pagers are all included in there. And there's a little section at the end for students to take some notes. So this would be intended as not just a throwaway thing for students, but something they keep and use through actually 7 years of their secondary education. We're pretty excited about it, and it turned out really well. And we've kind of included a lot of very graphical information so that it's visually appealing and engaging to students and families. Teachers are going to get copies of this as well, so they're part of that conversation with students, and so they know exactly where to point kids when there's a question. One of the other interesting things that we're doing, and I'm really excited about this, I know it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, so we've got to work out some of those logistics, but since not every high school campus in our school district offers all of the pathway electives, and a student, let's say at Montrose High, wants to take a veterinary science class that's not offered there. Instead, it's offered at Olathe High School. We want to allow that Montrose High student to be able to go to Olathe High School to take that class. All of our pathway electives, regardless of which school they happen to be taught at, should be accessible to all students in the district. And so we're trying to open up our campuses to let students move freely between those campuses when there's an elective class that matches their career goals that they need access to. And so we'll figure out the transportation part and be able to get kids to and from a campus so that they have access to everything. Just some other components that are really important to kind of touch on briefly. Work-based learning. This is the Colorado work-based learning continuum, and we follow that pretty closely. And I'll show you an example of what we do in just a second. But basically it starts from learning about work, and this can begin in middle school. And this is things like career fairs, or guest speakers, or doing like a worksite tour. So it's just learning about work a little bit, dipping your toe in the water. Then we just look at learning through work, and these things might be an internship, where we place a student at a local business and they spend a semester doing an internship that's unpaid. And then finally, learning at work. This might be a paid apprenticeship, on-the-job training, work for credit. So students are actually being paid at this level. So they're learning about work at work. So now they're fully involved, and that's more business-led than education-led. So we have a really strong work-based learning program at Montrose High School that we're trying to scale up and make more consistent across all of our high schools. And you probably have heard about this a little bit before, or you may know, or have even worked with one of our interns. But we try to place student interns with any of our community partners that really aligns well with that student's career goals, so they can get a taste for what that job might actually be like. In some cases, that confirms a student's ideas about that this is what I really want to do with my life. And in other cases, it helps students understand, I really don't want to do that. Actually, now that I've been in it, and I realize what this job is like, that's not for me. So it's useful either way, whether it really helps students prepare or teaches them, this is not for me, I should think about something else. And the one feature that I haven't mentioned yet of our career pathways, it's not meant to track students or lock them into a pathway that they can't get out of. They can change their minds at any point. So that's a good thing that allows students that flexibility. These are just a range of different ways we offer this work-based learning, whether it's working with a mentor in the community, doing an apprenticeship, an internship, job shadows. We also do a cool thing called Pizza with Professionals, where Ms. Gaber kind of coordinates. Each month might have a theme, so we might invite folks from the aviation industry to come have pizza with students. If a student's wanting to be a pilot or work in that industry, they can come eat pizza with those guys and girls and be able to ask them questions about their jobs. So that's kind of a cool idea. Our industry credentialing program, this was really cool. It started up about 3 years ago after Ms. Gaber and Ms. Bowringer at Montrose High School and I put together an impact award through the Montrose Education Foundation that we were lucky enough to win. And we took that $10,000 grant and used it as the startup cost for this industry credentialing program called Certified for Success. And this allows students to take industry credential exams at no cost. And if they earn that credential by passing the exam, they get a certification. And so those certifications become very valuable. They show an employer you have the skills and knowledge needed. You can be hired right away because these are the same set of skills and credentials any professional in that industry would have or have to have. And so these are just some examples of ones that our students have earned. Like this one in Adobe, graphic design and illustration using Adobe Illustrator. A student earned that. This one's for automotive service excellence, the ASE automotive ones, and kind of lists out what all the skills they have are. This one's for Autodesk, that's really an engineering one. It's in the Inventor program. And this one's Serve Safe, and that's really for the hospitality industry. We also offer a lot of concurrent enrollment. These are some of our concurrent enrollment partners, and one of our most important partners is CMU Montrose. And we have 5 different Career Tech Ed concurrent enrollment programs at CMU Montrose that our students take advantage of. And that's a great thing for students to be able to earn that college credit while they're still in high school. Some of the career events we're doing, this is really just opportunities for students to go learn about different careers and get some hands-on experience to explore what they might otherwise not have thought about doing. So we've done a construction trade fair 2 years in a row. That's these pictures down here. And this is our STEMposium, which is a partnership with MEDC for the Manufacturing Expo. And students really can learn about engineering and STEM careers there. We're looking to expand and do more more career fairs for all the different pathways. I'll probably skip this one since we're running low on time, but the basic idea on this one is we want to tell students stories about how they're pursuing career pathways. So we're going to do a video series. I won't show you this one, but it's on our YouTube channel. This is about one of our students, seniors right now, Joey Simo, who wanted to be a pilot, so it kind of tells his story, how he prepared to be a pilot. And he's now got a full ride scholarship to go into the Merchant Marines and pursue that, his dream of joining the Air Force one day. So that's pretty cool. That brings us to the end, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So well. John, that was impressive. Could we give him a round of applause? That's a lot. Do you need to take another drink of water before you... Yeah, take your time. It's a lot, and it was very well presented. Makes me want to go back to school and start all over. But so let's have questions. Who has a question? I know you have them, and if they don't all raise their hand, that just means that you covered it very, very well.
I'm curious about your arts program, and in particular, I know you have a band. What's the idea of expanding and including an orchestra?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know if I can answer that question. That might be more of a Heidi Berger question or a Carrie Stephenson question. But we are definitely looking to expand and provide opportunities for wherever all the student interests lie. And if we can, if there's a critical mass of students that are wanting that, we'll look at how to expand and provide those opportunities.
And I'll just add on to that as well. We just announced to our staff that we will be doing full-time art, music, and PE at our elementary schools starting next year. So previously we have shared the art and music, so we will now have full-time art and music in every one of our elementary schools all year, so hoping to grow that program. And if that results in orchestra, band starting earlier in the elementary schools, choirs starting, we have high hopes to develop that even further.
Any more questions? Actually, I'm going to put a couple people on the spot. Steve, would you like to extrapolate and tell them, like, working with the school district and how that's working with CMU?
Well, that's really nice of you to put me on the spot like that. I appreciate that. Really, this is about the school district, but I'd echo a couple of things that John said, is that we work very closely for the last couple of years in trying to, how can we at the local university level be the backstop for these great programs that they're reconfiguring, really. They've already done these things, but to reconfigure these pathways, the local campus here at CMU, how can we be that backstop to provide those services? Because we all know that some students, they're going to go right through high school and go on to college to Stanford or CU Boulder or wherever they're going to go. That's great. What about the rest of the students that really need opportunities here locally? And that's really what we're focusing on, is making sure that those pathways are intact. So it's been a really great partnership working with the school district since I've taken over as the role of director here at the Montrose campus. So it's been a real great ride. And we're in preparation. We pinky swear with Dr. Stevenson that anything that they want to try to do, we would try to accommodate that so that we would have that post-secondary opportunity at higher ed. So.
Thank you. So I actually would like to put one more person on the spot, and that's Scott Stryker. I think Stryker Construction worked with you on the Building Expo. You want to say a little something about that?
Sure. Yeah, so we were part of the Building Expo a couple weeks ago, and it was an exciting, second year of doing that, and so it's just nice to be able to grow our own in our own community, and we're grateful to be invited to stuff like that. Construction right now, the industry doesn't have a whole lot of people. The average age is like 54 years old for an average construction worker. And so that average age each year keeps creeping up. And so we're just now finishing a project over in Norwood from a new factory that was built in Buena Vista. And so we're finishing 24 homes that were shipped over, probably 80% complete, 85% complete, and now we're completing them on site. And this is kind of a trend of where the industry is going because there's not a lot of people in the field, and they don't want to, construction is a tougher trade when it's wintertime in Colorado versus working in a factory in Norwood or in Buena Vista. And so I don't know if you guys looked at the news in the last year, but it was reported that Grand Junction has a new kind of a Tesla type home factory called Mosaic that purchased 177 acres, and they're going to do a 250,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Grand Junction. So construction in the future, even in our own backyard, could look differently for people wanting to enter that trade. So I was just at the factory 2 days ago in Buena Vista picking up some stuff, and I noticed that there's probably 20 to 25% of the people in the factory were women. And so that's exciting to be able to see, to broaden the diversity and be able to get people into construction and help us out. So.
We appreciate you being at the Building Futures Construction Trade Fair too. It was interesting, I was talking with MHS Principal Heidi Boehringer just the other day about the enrollment numbers, what courses students have requested for next year. After that construction trade fair and the introduction of the new construction program at Montrose High, over 300 kids want to be in those construction courses. It's like exploded. It's crazy. We're like, we might need to hire 2 construction teachers instead of just 1. So the student interest in construction is definitely there.
So I had a quick question. I'm from Vista, and I was just curious. It said, you mentioned that it was accessible to all students in the district for elective classes in that pathway. And I just wanted to know if Vista students were included in that as well.
Well, we definitely, as you know, because you were at the construction trade fair, we brought some of your Vista students to the construction trade fair. I hope that was a fun experience for them. I don't know, that may be a question for Dr. Stevenson.
Yeah, so our relationship with Vista allows us to accept Vista kids into any of our classes as long as there's space available, and that is in the Vista contract as well. So kids from Vista, kids from Black Canyon High School, homeschool students, there are stipulations as far as enrollment goes, but these opportunities are available to all kids in the county. So our strategic plan is meeting the needs of all learners. So all learners means all learners.
Any more questions? Matt?
Yes,
for
ma'am.
starters, thanks for recruiting John.
Yes,
to the
ma'am.
Montrose School
We're lucky
District.
to have him and Dr. Fuji.
We're lucky to have you as well.
Thank you.
Would you like to add anything to this presentation since it was you brought it to our attention in the first place?
Sure, I'll say 1 or 2 sentences. Sorry I was late. My kid was getting a division award at Montrose High School for kindness. I was late, but it was a good reason. No, I just say, in all seriousness, my kids are in this school. I worked at the high school with John. We're invested in this community. Our school district's moving in the right direction. Despite, anybody that would say otherwise, I'm really proud to work for the school district. I'm really proud of the intentional work that we're doing. And I think this is just one example of the many examples of kids that go to our school are on the right path. And we got some good folks working really hard to get some awesome kids ready for the future. So I'm proud to work and live here. So, yeah.
That's very apparent that there are some awesome things going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, are there not any more questions that you would like to ask while we've got them here? So I'm going to turn this over to, let's give them another round of applause. Yeah.